The rapid technological development and the increased underwater activities of the last half-century have led to unexpectedly numerous discoveries of sunken remains of the past. Due to their good preservation, archaeological finds from the waterways of the European continent frequently represent important parts of the first archaeological collections. In spite of that, however, the heritage retrieved from rivers has long remained in the shadow of ancient ports and shipwrecks of the Mediterranean. The objects recovered from the Ljubljanica River, one of the most complex sites on the Slovenian territory, have also attracted attention from very early on. The first such occasion was during the regulation of the riverbed in the city center of Ljubljana, with first finds reported already in 1824. An even more important occasion was the diving research that took place at Vrhnika over half a century later. The 14-day operation, during which 2 divers of the Austro-Hungarian Navy researched the riverbed along the Roman fort at Dolge, was organized by Karl Deschmann, director of the Provincial Museum in Ljubljana and member of the Parliament in Vienna. The research at Vrhnika is one of the first examples of the use of the classic diving suit with a helmet in scientific rather than commercial purposes, and thus ranks among the earliest instances of underwater archaeology in general. Modern archaeological research of the Ljubljanica began with the work of a team from the National Museum of Slovenia, headed by the archaeologist Nuša Logar. A series of underwater surveys was conducted in the riverbed between Vrhnika and Ljubljana, while excavations that took place on the banks near Dolge and the outflow of the Zrnica ditch also produced important results. The systematic research, dictated by the increasing popularity of underwater activities at the end of the 1970s, as well as an uncontrolled removal of objects from the river, was initiated and promoted by Dr. Peter Petru, the director of the National Museum. Archaeological research of the Ljubljanica received a new impetus in the beginning of the 1990s, first with continued systematic surveys conducted by a team from the National Museum, and later with the founding of the Group for Underwater Archaeology. The latest research focuses on recording and documenting new sites, as well as cyclical monitoring of selected sections of the riverbed. The repeated surveying of selected locations has the purpose of explaining the morphological changes in the riverbed, and more importantly, of elucidating the appearance or absence of new finds. Researching involves a bathygraphic image of the bed made with the aid of sonar and an underwater survey that includes the collection of finds. The sonar is connected to a GPS receiver and enables the production of a 3-dimensional model which represents the basis for mapping finds and at the same time facilitates the diver's orientation on a site. The surveyed area is controlled by means of a grid of quadrants formed by ropes laid onto the bottom of the bed. Wherever the thickness of the sediments prevents hand removal, the archaeologists opt for the water dredge. The precise position of the finds as well as measurements of the control points for underwater photos are determined with a total station and prism, while ground plans, sediment profiles, and wooden vessels also require hand drawing. Objects made of wood or organic materials are kept in water after having been lifted, where they remain until reaching the conservation workshop. The underwater work also includes taking samples of wooden piles and subfossil tree trunks for subsequent dendrochronological analyses. The results of underwater research are complemented by the analyses of the old riverbeds' courses, which are recorded on old cadastral and topographical maps, as well as aerial photos on the one hand, and geological and paleobotanic analyses, as well as geophysical research of the banks on the other. Integrating different research approaches brings better founded interpretations on the origin of the material in the riverbed. It also enables us to estimate the danger that the site is exposed to, as well as to suggest the most effective means of preservation. The significance of the Ljubljanica as a specific archaeological phenomenon far surpasses the Slovene state borders. This led the government of the Republic of Slovenia to issue an ordinance in 2003 declaring the Ljubljanica River a cultural monument of state importance. The easy access to the finds in the river led to a limitation of diving, which is now possible on a large part of the river only with the permission of the Ministry of Culture.